60. That birthday wasn't just another number for me. It felt like a line in the sand, a moment that forced me to stop and take a hard look at my life. So 3 years ago, I did a full audit of everything: my routines, my relationships, my health, my mindset, the works. And I realized something unsettling. Many of the habits and beliefs that had served me so well for decades, the very things that built my career, just weren't working anymore. In fact, some of them were quietly sabotaging my happiness. They were hangovers from my working days, habits forged in the high-pressure cooker of a 40-year career. Back then, they were essential. I honestly don't believe I would have achieved what I did without them. But in retirement, they felt like carrying a heavy briefcase into a swimming pool. They were just weighing me down. So, I made a conscious decision. I was going to let them go. I was going to unlearn the very rules that had governed my entire adult life. What if I told you that the key to a truly joyful retirement isn't setting new goals, staying relentlessly busy, or even ticking off that spectacular bucket list? For decades, we're taught to strive, to achieve, to plan. The world rewards us for it. But I discovered that the secret to happiness in this chapter of life is actually to unlearn everything that got you here. It starts with ditching 5 common habits that are secretly stealing your joy. And the first one might just be the one holding you the most captive. The first thing I stopped doing, the habit I had to consciously dismantle piece by piece, was caring what other people think of me. Now, that sounds simple, almost like a cliche you'd see on a coffee mug. But I want you to really sit with that for a moment. Think about how deeply the need for approval is woven into our lives. From childhood, we look for it from parents and teachers. Then in our careers, our success is measured by performance reviews, promotions, and what our colleagues think of us. Our entire identity can get built on this scaffolding of other people's opinion. We become masters of perception management. That habit doesn't just disappear when you get your last paycheck. It follows you right into retirement, and it can be suffocating. You start worrying if you're doing retirement right. Are you traveling enough? Should your hobbies be more impressive? Are you volunteering for the right causes? Trust me, people will have an opinion on all of it. I had a very direct and frankly comical experience with this. As you know, I post videos on YouTube, which comes with a flood of opinions from total strangers. I got a comment not long ago that just said, "Your teeth look rotten." Another viewer from America echoed the sentiment. For a fleeting moment, the old me, the career professional who was always hyper aware of his presentation, felt that sting, a flicker of embarrassment. The old programming kicked in, whispering, "What will people think? This looks bad." My first instinct was to get defensive, to want to explain myself. But then, something new happened. A wave of calm washed over me, and it was replaced by a quiet sense of amusement. I looked in the mirror and thought, well, I know I have a chip or two, but they're all mine. They're 63 years old, and they've served me well through thousands of meals and conversations. Suddenly, the opinion of a stranger on the internet about my dental health seemed completely irrelevant to my happiness. In that moment, I realized just how far I'd come. I just don't care anymore. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm a big believer in free speech, but what I don't do is get heated about it. I don't get into arguments trying to win them over. It's a colossal waste of energy. Your opinion is yours, my peace is mine, and I'm no longer willing to trade one for the other. This shift changes everything. Right now, I'm on a walk through the city of York. It's a busy place, full of students and tourists. People are walking by, and some might be looking at me talking into this phone. A few years ago, that would have been unthinkable. I would have been way too self-conscious, worried I looked like a fool. Today, I'm just enjoying the walk, enjoying the city, and sharing my thoughts. The potential judgment of strangers doesn't even register. Unlearning this is an active process. It's about catching yourself in that moment of feeling judged and asking, does this person's opinion genuinely add to my well-being? 99.9% of the time, the answer is a firm no. Happy retirees aren't the ones with the most impressive lives. They're the ones who have stopped performing for an audience. They've discovered the freedom of what you might call irrelevant in the best possible way. The game is over, and they've stopped keeping score. When you ditch this habit, the amount of mental and emotional energy you get back is staggering. All that power you were leaking, worrying about what others think, can be reinvested into things that actually bring you joy. It's not just freedom, it's a massive energy surplus. The second habit I gave up was putting up with nonsense. And by nonsense, I mean anything or anyone that consistently drains my energy and peace of mind, whether it's difficult people, negative situations, or needless drama. This is another one of those hangovers from the working world. In a professional setting, we often have to deal with difficult personalities. We put up with the demanding client, the toxic coworker, the unreasonable boss. We learn to handle these situations with a kind of professional diplomacy. We bite our tongue, choose our battles, and put on a brave face because our job depends on it. It's a survival skill. The danger is we get so good at it, we forget it's a choice. We carry this habit of tolerance right into our personal life, where it's no longer a requirement. We keep putting up with the friend who's always negative, the family member who thrives on drama, or the acquaintance who's just draining to be around. We do it out of habit, mistaking this learned tolerance for being polite. I spent years managing people and projects. I ran into all sorts of difficult characters. It was part of the job, and I got very good at it. But when I did that life audit at 60, I realized I was still doing it. I had a few relationships that were, frankly, toxic. The interactions were one-sided, negative, and always left me feeling exhausted. But I kept them going out of a sense of obligation, a habit learned in the boardroom that had no place at my dinner table. My new approach is much simpler. For instance, if my wife and I go to a restaurant and the service is rude or the atmosphere is just off, we don't get angry or write a scathing review. We just make a mental note. Right, we won't be coming back here. Life is far too short, and there are too many wonderful restaurants out there to waste an evening feeling tense. The same goes for people. I actively limit my exposure to negative influences. I'm not talking about friends going through a tough time who need support. I'm talking about people who are chronically negative or toxic. I've learned that I don't have to attend every argument I'm invited to. I can choose to simply walk away or spend less time with them. The mindset shift is this. In retirement, your time is your most precious, non-renewable asset. You are the CEO of your own life, and more importantly, the curator of your own energy. You decide who gets access to you. Setting these boundaries isn't aggressive. It's an act of profound self-respect. It's about building a fortress of peace around yourself. And this isn't just a feeling. There's actually some fascinating science to back this up. The long-running Harvard study of adult development, which has tracked people for over 85 years, found that the single biggest predictor of health and happiness in later life isn't wealth or fame. It's the quality of your relationship. Ditching nonsense is the fastest way to improve the quality of your relationship because it weeds out the connections that drain you, leaving more room for the ones that nurture you. The benefit is a life that is dramatically calmer. Your social circle might get smaller, but its quality will skyrocket. Your interactions become a source of energy, not exhaustion. You'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel. The third habit I had to unlearn was setting huge, often unrealistic expectations of other people. I'll be the first to admit it. For most of my life, I was a perfectionist. I had incredibly high standards for myself, and that's what drove my success. The problem was, I subconsciously held everyone else to those same standards. In my career, this came out as, I don't suffer fools gladly. I expected people to be as driven, meticulous, and committed as I was. That might work for hitting business targets, but it's a terrible strategy for a happy life. Applying that same rigid yardstick to your friends, your family, or your partner is a recipe for constant disappointment. You end up in a state of being perpetually let down because people, being human, will inevitably fail to meet your perfect standard. They'll be late, they'll be disorganized, they'll forget things, they'll have different priorities. I remember getting so frustrated with friends who weren't as punctual as I was. I'd be internally fuming if someone was 15 minutes late, seeing it as a sign of disrespect. I was applying a workplace efficiency metric to a friendship, and it was making me miserable, and I suspect not much fun to be around. The unlearning process here was about shifting toward what I can only call radical acceptance. It's about letting people be who they are, not who you want them to be. It's understanding that their habits and their flaws are about their own journey, their own programming, and their own struggles. It's almost never about you. This isn't the same as lowering your standards for how you're treated. That's habit number 2, not putting up with disrespect. This is about letting go of the need to control how other people behave. It's accepting that your friend might always be a bit scattered, or that a family member will never share your passion for tidiness, and that's okay. The solution is to detach your emotional state from their actions. I still prefer people to be on time, but I've let go of the expectation that they must be in order for me to be happy. You learn to work around it. If you have a friend who's always late, you either meet them somewhere, waiting is pleasant, or you just tell them to meet you 20 minutes before you plan to get there. You adapt to reality instead of constantly fighting it. The peace that comes from this is immense. You stop taking everything so personally. Things that used to get under your skin become trivial, and your relationships actually improve because people feel accepted for who they are, not judged for who they aren't. You become a more compassionate, patient, and relaxed person. And honestly, who wouldn't want to be around that guy more? By the way, if these ideas about unlearning old habits are clicking with you, I'd be so grateful if you took a second to hit that subscribe button. It's a small click for you that makes a huge difference for the channel, and it makes sure you won't miss what's coming next. Thanks for that. Now, let's get to a really big one. The fourth habit I ditched, and this might be the most counterintuitive of all, is setting complex, hard to achieve, long-term goals. My entire career, I was a goal-setting machine. My life was a meticulously planned campaign of achievement. I had the vision boards, the mission statements, the color-coded spreadsheet, the whole 9 yards. It was my operating system. It was how I measured my progress, my success, and if I'm being honest, my self-worth. Society calls this ambition, and it's celebrated. The very idea of living without a detailed 5-year plan felt like giving up. It felt like failure. What do you mean you don't have a strategic plan for retirement? What are your key performance indicators for joy? It sounds absurd when you say say it out loud. But that's exactly how my brain was wired. So, what do I do now? It's not that I'm aimless. It's that the nature of my goals has completely changed. The time for multi-year strategic plans is over. That system served its purpose. It built discipline and got me here. But clinging to it in retirement is like trying to run a marathon every single day. It's exhausting and it's completely unnecessary. Today, my planning system is radically simple. I use a basic Google Calendar and I rarely look more than a year ahead. Even those plans are written in pencil, not permanent ink. My goals have shifted from being achievement-oriented to being experience-oriented. Let me give you an example. A goal for the old me might have been grow my YouTube channel by 20% next quarter by posting 2 videos a week and increasing engagement by 15%. It's measurable, specific, and totally soulless. A goal for the new me is go for a walk somewhere beautiful this week. If I feel inspired, maybe I'll talk about something on my mind and film it. See the difference? The focus is on the process, not the outcome. The joy is in the walk, the creative spark, the act of sharing. If the video does well, that's a fantastic bonus. If it doesn't, my sense of a day well spent is still intact because the goal was the experience. This is all about shifting your focus from the future to the present. For decades, our lives are about delayed gratification. Work hard today for a promotion next year, for a comfortable retirement in 20 years. Well, retirement is the destination we were working toward. Now that we're here, the challenge is to stop planning for the next destination and just enjoy where we are. This doesn't mean you stop learning or growing. In fact, research shows that challenging your brain is vital for staying happy and healthy. But now, the challenge can be learning guitar for the sheer joy of it, not to play at Carnegie Hall. It can be learning a new language to make a trip more fun, not to become a certified translator. The pressure is off. The benefit of ditching complex goals is the rediscovery of spontaneity. It's freedom from the constant nagging pressure of self-evaluation. You're no longer living in a state of not there yet. You are here now. And you start to find huge satisfaction in the simple, unfolding texture of the day. You finally get to transition from being a human doing to a human being. This brings me to the 5th and final thing I don't do anymore. I don't try to keep busy all the time. I have officially broken up with the glorification of busy. We live in a culture that worships at the altar of productivity. Busy is a status symbol. When someone asks how you are, the default response is good. Busy. So busy. It's a way of signaling our importance, our relevance. We're conditioned to believe an empty calendar is a sign of a wasted life. The guilt that comes with doing nothing is immense. I dragged this obsession with productivity right into my first year of retirement. I felt this compulsive need to squeeze every last drop of efficiency out of every day. If I had a spare hour, I'd feel a panicky urge to fill it with something productive. I was terrified of boredom, which I thought was the same as atrophy. This relentless need for activity can be just as exhausting as a full-time job and leads to that strange paradox of retirees who feel both busy and bored. The game changer for me was a chat with a good friend, a guy named Andy. His whole philosophy was so different from mine, and it was the wake-up call I needed. His attitude is simply, if you're not feeling it today, why bother? This was absolute blasphemy to the old me. Why bother? Because there's a to-do list. Because time is money. Because we have to be productive. But he was retired, and he was one of the most content people I knew. He had given himself permission to just be. This doesn't mean you should aim to do nothing 5 or 6 days a week. That's not the goal. I think it's crucial to stay active, keep your mind engaged, and have a sense of purpose. But it's about having the flexibility to choose. It's about listening to your own rhythm. I still keep a light routine. I like to get up and go to bed around the same time. I make sure I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's non-negotiable. But beyond that, the day is a canvas, not a checklist. Some days, I wake up buzzing with energy, excited to work on the channel, to write, to create. On those days, I lean into that productive energy. But other days, I just don't feel like doing much. And I've learned that's perfectly okay. On those days, I let myself just chill out. I might read a book, sit in the garden, listen to music, or just putter around. That idea of puttering is so important. It's not laziness. It's a form of active, unstructured rest. It's when your mind is free to wander, to make new connections, to just breathe. Some of my best ideas have come on days when I was supposedly doing nothing. I have another friend who is the polar opposite of Andy. He's always on the go, motorbiking, cycling, in a dozen clubs, walking his dogs. He cannot sit still. He's full of energy, and that works for him. I've realized I'm somewhere in between those two, and the joy is having the freedom to move between them based on how I feel, not on some external pressure to be busy. Ditching the obsession with productivity means disconnecting your self-worth from your daily output. A successful day is no longer defined by how many tasks you checked off, but by how you feel. A long walk, a good conversation, a nap, finishing a chapter of a book. These are all hallmarks of a deeply successful day. This is the ultimate freedom of retirement, freedom from the tyranny of the clock. So, those are the 5 habits I decided to leave behind at 60. To recap, I stopped caring what other people think. I stopped putting up with nonsense. I stopped having great expectations of people. I stopped setting complex, long-term goals. And I stopped worshiping at the altar of busy. Letting go of these things wasn't about giving up. It was the opposite. It was about creating space for calm, for spontaneity, for genuine connection, and for a quiet joy that the constant striving of my younger years had crowded out. It's about unlearning the rules of the first 2/3 of your life so you can truly thrive in the final third. It's about making the most of the years we have left, and hopefully there are many, many more to come. So I'm genuinely curious to hear from you. As you think about your own life, whether you're retired or not, what is one habit you'd be most excited to ditch? Or maybe there's one you've already let go of that has made all the difference. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I really do read every single one, and I learn so much from your experiences. And if this idea of unlearning the old rules resonates with you, I think you'll get a lot out of the next video coming up on your screen, where I talk about redefining your identity after 6. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.